Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today on Living Mythology, I'm proud to bring you Mythic Gaming with Tim Espy and Zack McAtee. Greetings and welcome, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing well yourself.
I'm doing fantastic. Tim, how about
Good, good,
good?
good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you too. So, what is going on in level one games? We'll start there as we always do.
Yeah, so there's been a whole bunch going on since we last talked. It's been a whole bunch, it's a whole bunch of the same, but which is good. So everything has been super busy and everything's been super crazy. So the most recent thing, I'll talk about the most recent thing because that's the most fresh in my brain right now. So Magic, and so as always, there's always magic stuff going on.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I'm not sure how much you've been paying attention as of late with magic stuff, but um, there's Final Fantasy, the old video game.
Yes.
So they did a crossover with Magic the Gathering. So it was a Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering crossover, like how they did with Lord of the Rings and Warhammer and Doctor Who and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
So they did a Final Fantasy one, and it's been ever since we started doing Magic in 2017, I think we started. Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, it would be January 2017. It's by far the busiest set that we've ever done.
Wow, that is
Um,
impressive because you've had very many busy sets.
yes. So this one was the 6th it started. So not last Friday, but the Friday before. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday we do our pre-releases that we do, every few months or however many weeks it is now between sets. But um so on Friday we had 40 people at the store um joining us for pre-release, and then also on Saturday we had 40 people signed up for Saturday, but it ended up being 38 people, so still nearly 40 people on Saturday. And then on Sunday we had to cap it out basically at 24 people, so we had 24 people on Sunday. Um so over 100 people throughout Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, um, for the events for Final Fantasy. So yeah, it's just been super super crazy.
Yeah, that sounds crazy. And Final Fantasy's had a fan following since the early console days.
Oh yeah, so
It's a long
I'm sure like that's where I was gonna go with this, was that the crossover, like with Lord of the Rings. Like Lord of the Rings was very big um as well, but Magic is huge and it's always been very big, obviously. And Magic was popular when Lord of the Rings was coming out, but it seems like every year Magic gets bigger and bigger. So with that, now with this crossover, it's been the busiest that it's ever been. So um yeah, so you get the huge crossover of all these Final Fantasy people, and there's been 16 mainline games, and then of course countless spin-offs and different portable games and mobile games and everything. um so there's they specifically, when they designed the set, they specifically made it so that there's cards from every single mainline Final Fantasy game. So if you know that there's a character from Final Fantasy 14 that you like, there's a pretty good chance that they're in the set as a card. Um, and there's, in typical Magic fashion, there's, really good, you know, homages to certain things and really fun little Easter eggs where if you know the lore, the specific thing for Final Fantasy, it makes way more sense. Um, when you read the card outside of just like, oh, it's just a magic card. But oh no, the thing in the picture is something that they're paying homage to from the game or something. So it's been fun listening to people, because I've played Final Fantasy. I played our Final Fantasy number 3, so that was Super Nintendo, and then Final Fantasy 7 was PlayStation 1, and then I played Final Fantasy 15, I think was PlayStation 4. So I'm not super well versed in it. So it's fun, people coming in that are, very diehard fans, giving me some little snippets and some little tips and some lore stuff. It's been a good time seeing people that are regulars at the store getting into it, because it's Final Fantasy, like how Lord of the Rings was for this as well.
Final Fantasy, I think last time I played Final Fantasy was on the pre-Nintendo systems or Nintendo. I remember Game Boy, there was a Final Fantasy, and I think on the computer at one point, but I haven't played Final Fantasy since those early days.
Yeah. The old 8-bit ones. Yeah, there was a couple for original Game Boy, the original, big gray Game Boy.
Yes.
And then you had a couple for original Nintendo, of course, and then the big one was 3 for Super Nintendo, and then 7 again. But that was PlayStation 1. Like that's the one I think that really broke it over here. And like really made them break out.
I followed Dragon Warrior for a while from the
Yeah.
NES consoles to later on, and then I stopped.
Yep. That's even still. I think that might even be more popular than Final Fantasy in Japan, at least. That here it never wasn't as big as Final Fantasy. So still very popular, of course, but I think Dragon Warrior in Japan is like huge.
So maybe we'll see a Dragon Warrior as well. That is
Yeah.
it seems that franchising is the way to go with a lot of these systems.
Yeah, so it brings up a conversation that gets had, quite a lot, where it's like, at what point is it not really Magic anymore? Is it not Magic the Gathering anymore? Um, but there's two sides that people argue with that argument. Um, the one side is that it brings new people in where they might have not um necessarily been interested previously, um which is kind of the side that I'm on, where you know if these sets bring in these new people and they start playing a lot and are a little bit more enfranchised past Final Fantasy or Lord of the Rings or whatever one we want to use, and then they start looking at these old cards and they start seeing like, oh wow, like, oh, these old borders are really cool, or these old um effects are really neat, and then they start branching out from there, and then you have an enfranchised player that you know grows with your community, and is a lifelong friend, and I don't know, just turns into something more than just the game.
Plus, you can do what you want, like with D&D. You could homebrew and make it as orthodox or as unorthodox as you and your table choose it to be.
Yeah, yep. That's what's also great about Magic too. It's near limitless. You can kind of do what you want. That's why Commander is so popular, because it allows for way more creativity than some other formats. And say like, yeah, I just don't really like the Final Fantasy, or I don't really like Assassin's Creed or whatever, and you just don't have to use the cards. It's not not
Right.
not the big deal.
Yeah, but I'm sure there are people like they're the ones playing the real game and everything.
Oh yeah, of course. Of course, there's always going to be the we'll call them the purists, or whatever you want to call. But if people are having fun playing the game, who cares?
That's the important thing. Uh, Anything going on with Pokemon, which is another big category of card play?
Yeah, so Pokemon has also been um, crazy as well. So this most recent set was called Destined Rivals. So are you familiar with Pokemon stuff at all?
Very little. I used to work in a human service job when I worked with kids. So I used to watch
Mhm.
the show because they were into it. They were into the Pokemon and the Digimon. And of course, my son my eldest son was into it too, so he kept educating me. So I had a lot of information at one point, but I haven't really kept track of it since then.
Right.
Whenever I've,
So, so you'll probably be familiar with most of the like bigger named things. So Destin Rivals was the new set that came out. Actually, came the official release date was the same day, nearly as the Magic set as well. um, so on top of the busiest Magic thing, we had a really busy Pokemon thing, and then another thing that we'll get to is the Nintendo Switch 2 came out that week as well. But so that was a busy week for us, but we'll get to the video game stuff eventually. Um, but yeah, what was the question? I forget now.
uh, no, just that's what's going on with the Pokemon
Oh,
because they're
Pokemon, right. Yeah, so the Destin Rivals set is a Team Rocket based set. So they were the quote bad guys in the early Pokemon games. Um, so the people that so back in, oh, I forget what year it might have been. It might have been the late 90s or early 2000s. They came out with a Team Rocket based TCG set, back then. So this was kind of like the quote new version of that. So the people that really liked the Team Rocket sets from back in the day, were very excited for this set as well. So um I'm sure as you've seen, just in passing that Pokemon stuff has been getting really crazy, with people fighting in Costco and
yes, there are signs again in some places that you could only get one, you can't return it, and
yeah. Yep. So, luckily we don't have any of that going on but by us luckily. But product is really hard to come across, and a lot of the times it's very expensive. So the hobby right now, on the Pokemon side, is a little tough, but we've kind of been through this before during like it was kind of like a during COVID era kind of we've kind of been through that big bubble, big boom for Pokemon back, 5 years ago or so. So I think we're just kind of I don't think we definitely are kind of going through that again. So you kind of just have to weather the storm, and then the kind of the people that kind of are just in it for, you know, not the right reasons, I guess, of just trying to go to Costco and, oh, I know if I buy this for this much, I can sell it for this much and make this much money or whatever, they're not really, they don't usually stick around for too long. And then you get back to the normal, people that are collecting and playing the game and stuff. Um,
yeah,
but
speculating is part of the hobby, even with comic books and a lot of other things, that there are speculation-rich times, and then everyone seems to discover that very few people make any money in actuality uh, off speculating. So they go back to just collecting comics or not collecting comics.
right. Yep, exactly right. So like I said, we've kind of been through this before. So so for me personally, like my Pokemon collection, I like to collect they're called full art trainers, where they're the trainer versions of the card, but cool, full art versions of them. And I have them all from dating back from the first one that came out, I forget what year it was, 2013 or something like that. So I've been keeping up with it since, however long ago I started doing it. But with these most recent sets, the product is so hard to come across. I'm, missing a decent, I'm probably missing 12 cards or so for my collection, which is decently rare for me. I'm usually pretty caught up by the next set that comes out. I'm usually ready to go for the next one. Um, so it's been kind of tough trying to collect and stuff, but um, you know, it, people still come and grab singles, and we still trade and stuff. So there's still stuff out there to get, and I try to keep stuff for our regulars so that that at least they know they can come to us and get it for the right price and not have to pay, 4x what they should be paying. But like I said, like as you know, like it's all for our community that we have, growing at the store. So try to take care of everybody that comes by.
And I greatly admire you for that. The coalition that you've made in your area of different types of hobby stores and how you all cooperate together in events and in referring to each other. That's brilliant, and that's very compassionate. Taking something that would have been nasty and competitive and turning it into something productive and flourishing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. We can all, like I always say, we can all work together and, make sure that we're not stepping on everybody's toes. And, everybody, at the end of the day, everybody just wants to play their game of choice, whether it be Magic or whether it be Pokemon or, whatever other game. They all just want to play. They all have their communities as well, and then we all can all, get along and have our tournaments. And, I don't know. It's just much better that way.
From your mouth to the God's ears.
Right.
Before we move on, is there anything else that's going on in the card game arena? Then we'll go to Zach.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, there's just Magic and Pokemon have been, super crazy. We're starting to do a little bit of One Piece cards. That's been getting very popular lately. It's based off of the anime or the manga One Piece. A very big, long um series ongoing. Um but it's been very popular. I don't know too much about it. I haven't played any games. I've looked at the cards, and the cards are very nice. The quality is very good. And like I said, it's been very popular the past, couple, year or two. Um, so we're starting to get that come in. It's just been taking a while because it's also very popular. So card stuff in general right now is has been very popular.
So the hobby is flourishing in level one games.
Oh, yep, definitely, most certainly. When we have the product and can get it, it's been good.
Thank you so very much. And Zach, what is going on in your card game explorations and adventures?
Nothing too new as far as card games go. I think I've got a few board games and things I can talk about though whenever we move on to that segment.
Okay, great. Do you have any RPGs to talk about?
So I think I may have mentioned this one before when I finally bought the core book, but I'm just now getting around to reading it. There's a game called Ryutama, which is a Japanese game. They described it as kind of like if Miyazaki made Oregon Trail, like the old video game Oregon Trail. It's described as a cozy natural fantasy RPG, and it's got some very cool lore mechanics. There's actually a DM character that kind of watches over the party and can aid them. Uh, the whole caveat is that dragons created the world, and the dragons live and feed off of being told stories. So they have these like smaller dragons, which are the ones that the DM like makes fun of, that will follow traveling parties, record the things that they experience, and then read the story to the dragon as like food to keep them alive and keep the world alive.
I like
Um,
that.
they do this fun thing where like they break down the DN Dragon PC into like one of four different colors, which focus on different kinds of stories. So like if you want to be a red dragon DM, that means you're focusing on stories that involve lots of combat, like war, tactics, diplomacy, things like that, and the dragon's abilities reflect that. Versus if you do, say, a blue dragon, they focus on more like hopeful, idealistic, romantic. So they have abilities like, oh, you can do things to reward the players for kindness. You can do things so they can speak with animals. Each like DMPC has a different suite of abilities, and then the classes are very what's the rustic. Rustic is a good word. So you have like your basic things like this guy's a farmer, this guy's a merchant, a healer, a minstrel. They're all relatively quote unquote low power, I suppose is a good way to put it. The idea is that in this world, it is socially acceptable for everyone to go on what is effectively a walkabout once in their life. So you basically just decide one day, say, yep, this is the time that I want to go on a journey. and your community will watch over all of your belongings, your houses, whatever, and keep them in good shape while you're gone. And you just go on like a year or two journey, come back, and move on with your life. And so it's an interesting world where it's like that's commonplace, which I think helps with the feeling of it being lower stakes and kind of more again, cozy. Again, like if everyone's going on journeys all the time, it's not that dangerous, you know.
Mhm.
I like that. I really like that idea. If you can email me the information or a link, I'm going to explore that at some point, hopefully very soon, because I love telling stories, immersing myself in stories, and I describe what I do as that I'm a storyteller, a mythic storyteller. So that inspired many constructive thoughts and creative thoughts in my mind. Your description. So definitely want to look into that.
Yeah, and it's even just on a physical quality level. This is one of the more impressive RPG books I've gotten. I don't know the term for whatever they did to the cover, but like the cover feels very nice. The pages are crisp. All the art is fantastic. It's very like 90s anime style. Um, maybe Harvest Moon, like early type stuff like that. But like everything
Nice.
about the presentation is really nice. Um, and I'm just at the end of the first quarter of the book because it's broken up into the 4 seasons to match the 4 seasonal dragons that originally created the world. Um, and it's like even such a minor detail. I'm looking at it right now. I have it next to me because I was actually reading it before we hopped on. Uh, and when you look at the side of the pages, you can see where it's broken up into the seasons because they colored the edges of the pages green, orange, red, and blue to
Oh,
match the different seasons. And again, it's such a minor, like, doesn't really even do anything, but it's just I love seeing those little details.
yeah, that certainly sounds like a wonderful product, well worth exploring. And how about your other campaigns? You had a long running Pokemon role playing game campaign. You've had a Five Rings campaign, a Lord of the Rings campaign, as well as many minor campaigns. How are those coming along?
Yeah, so the 2 Pokemon campaigns, I have the one online and the one in person. The online group, we just recently had our 50th session. I think we're
Wow.
doing session 52 in July, at the beginning of July. Our in-person group, we have finally managed to find a another person to kind of round out the roster a bit. So they'll be joining for the first time this coming Saturday. So that should be fun. Um,
Who's
something
that? Is it somebody
do
I
you
know?
remember? Do you remember Isamu? I think you only met him like
Yeah, of
once.
course.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
because after he came back from Japan
Yeah.
earlier this year, and he expressed interest because I did a game of Dread for him once, and he was saying that like that's one of his favorite characters is the character he played in that. Um, the most fun thing we did recently in the Pokemon one is my players actually came up with the suggestion, and I think this is a good lesson to listen to your players and let them help you make things. They're in a bigger town and they have occasionally traded Pokemon with some NPCs. But they brought up, they're like, hey, like in the anime and in the manga and like even somewhat in the games, they kind of have like big gatherings of people to trade Pokemon, almost like a swap meet. Like, would something like that be possible? Uh, and so I immediately and I'm sure Hercules, you're familiar. Immediately that sparked. I was like, I know exactly what to do. So I made like a sort of mini game where like they paid a very small amount of the in-game money to basically get bargaining chips. And the way it worked is I made a spreadsheet of like, here's the name of every trainer that's offering a Pokemon, and the other columns were all hidden. And so they could be things like the species of the Pokemon they're offering. It could be the level. It could be if they have any special abilities that might be rare to get. Uh, what the person named it, because you cannot rename a Pokemon that's traded to you. So it always keeps whatever its owner named it. And then the other side of the categories were what are they looking for? And the idea was as long as you can offer them a trade that matches one of the 3 things they're looking for, they'll accept the trade, and then you can trade away your Pokemon. And so the groups kind of like put their heads together to try and figure out like how best to spend the bargaining chips, because each one only showed a single cell on the spreadsheet. So they were like, oh, okay, is it more useful to see what level the stuff is, or maybe we should see like what types this person will accept in trade, and it was just a fun little mini game. Both parties enjoyed it a lot, and so it's definitely something I'm going to make a recurring feature every few towns, I think. Um, and the L5R game is going strong still. We just actually started Arc 4. We had our 20th session, and this one is kind of a dungeon gauntlet. So it's a sequence of a bunch of rooms that monsters have been locked into, basically as seals for something evil. And I just made a whole bunch of maps and all this stuff. They fought the more fun of the two that they fought last session. In Japanese mythology, there's something called an umukade, which is a centipede that legend says feasts upon dragons. It grows so large that it can encircle a mountain at full size. Its venom is incredibly painful. Its only weakness is human saliva in the original myths. So the way it gets defeated is like someone coats an arrowhead in spit and shoots it with it. But so what I did, and I showed this to Tim, I made like pixel art, like sprite pixel art of a centipede head, a centipede tail, and like the body portions with legs. And then I printed out those as separate tokens so that each piece could move individually. Made the
Oh,
map
wow.
for that one like really tall and narrow. And the centipede was like 18 or so tokens long. I could just like snake around the board in separate pieces. And so they were immediately like, oh my God, it's Space Invaders. As the centipede's like working its way down to them. And then when they dealt it enough damage, it split into three smaller centipedes, and like they chopped it in half, and then like another tail grew, and then the middle portion got two heads on both ends. But so that was a lot of fun to put together and to see them like strategize against and fight.
That sounds incredibly awesome.
Yeah, you should, Zach, in the email you should send them the pictures of the sprite model and it on the board and stuff. It really is like Zach showed it to me. I was like, oh wow, cool. Like, where'd you find that? And he's like, oh, I made that. And I was like, what? Like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like it looks, yeah, it looks great.
That's very flattering. I'm not that good, It's just something I do in my spare time occasionally. Always had a softness for pixel art.
Yeah, no, it came out. It's awesome. The colors are great. Like it looks perfect. Like it looks exactly what you think it should look like.
Do you belong to any communities online that share information and, like homebrewed information?
I'm in a couple like subreddits and then discords for like L5R and stuff like that. But I don't usually post like anywhere. And
Okay.
it's something that the new player for my Pokemon game was telling me, because that's a homebrew game. That's something that people online came up with. It's not official. And at this point, I've been running it since I think 2008 or 2009. Uh, and he pointed out, he said, technically speaking, as far as time goes, you might literally be the most experienced person in the world at that game,
Right.
because it's such a niche thing. I was like, no, whatever. And I was like, oh yeah, the developers like stopped after, like I think after Sun and Moon. So I ported everything else past that game myself. It's like, are you listening to yourself?
You are the guy now for it. So
Certainly for the revision I play, because they've made like other versions of it, and the one that I play was kind of in the middle of development, and then they went down uh, the path of trying to streamline things too much. I feel like the further revisions they did, and everything kind of felt the same. Like there wasn't really a lot of difference in characters and Pokemon. Um, so the one I do is very crunchy. Is the RPG term? We say it's very crunchy.
mhm.
What do you mean? I've heard that term used, but I don't really have a definition.
Yeah. So the more crunch a game has, it's usually crunch versus fluff. Crunch
Okay,
is crunch is hard numbers. It's how many like times you're going to be doing bigger math, things like that, like how in the weeds you can get as far as game simulation. Whereas fluff is the more narrative aspect. It's the lore, it's the interactions with RPing stuff. It's like, oh, okay, we don't roll for travel. Let's just describe what the travel looks like, and then you get to the location. Versus if you're doing it crunchy, it's like, okay, let me look at the table of you're in this type of terrain, in this type of weather. So that means you're going to be rolling X, Y, and Z over the course of the journey. This modifier, da da da, you know. So it's basically just a scale of narrative to mechanic heavy. Is a good way to think of it.
understood. Thank you for
Mm.
explaining that. Is there any
Yeah,
role-play related thing you'd like to share before we move back to Tim?
Not that I can think of at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. That was awesome. Tim, anything happening in the board game realm? I mean, in the RPG realm?
yeah, so I can't remember the name. Zach, what is the name of the big, like, I don't want to say company, but like group that does a bunch of like RPG stuff now? Well, They have
Uh,
their own they have their own line of like everything now.
are you talking about like a publisher or a manufacturer?
No, no, it was just like a group. It wasn't like shut up and sit down. It was they have their own like they have their everything now. Their own. Oh, geez, I forget their name of them.
It's not Critical Role, is it?
Critical Role. Yep, it's Critical Role.
Yeah,
Thank
because
you.
they just came out with Daggerheart, right?
Daggerheart. Thank you. Yep. Okay. Um, so when I talk with one of my salesmen, me and him have a good relationship. Like he understands our store and like our customers and kind of what they're into as well. We fostered a good relationship the past, quite a while. So I like to grab smaller RPGs and stuff, kind of stuff that he recommends. That's how I found out about like Morkborg and a couple of the other, small RPGs that I've picked up just because, the art was cool or anything. Um, like we got some copies of Kids on Bikes and stuff. But I
Nice.
more so get them just for me to have, and then I put one on the shelf, and every so often, somebody will come in and be like, "Oh, this looks cool. I'll grab it." But they're not super fast movers, but it's just stuff I like to have that makes it, the store a little bit more unique. Um, and like I said, eventually they do sell. But he talked to me about Daggerfall, and I'm aware of Critical Role, of course, and I was like, yeah, sure, like we'll get a couple copies of it, but I'm certainly glad that we did because like that book we actually were getting phone calls about, oh, do you have the new Daggerfall? And yep, we had the one that had the starter kit, and it was a thicker volume of stuff. Um, but yeah, so I guess the Critical Role guys must be doing something pretty good. Zach, do you know like what makes it different? Is it more streamlined, or what the story is with it?
I actually haven't gotten to look into it too much. I know that people are saying that it's a more approachable RPG, but I don't know too much about mechanics or anything like that.
The only thing I,
Right. Yeah.
when that controversy was brewing about the OGL, that the people doing Critical Role started out using Dungeons and Dragons, and then later on, because of the changes in the OGL contract, they decided to create their own system, and that's what they did. So I guess they're doing well with it.
Yeah, yeah, it seems to be super popular. What the one thing that I am aware of it is that it's super very diverse. Like there's a bunch of stuff for like inclusivity and really opens up for I don't want to use the word customization, but you customize to your liking. So it seems to be pretty good along those lines. So I think that's why it's very popular. And I heard that it was a little bit more approachable, like Zach said, not as crunchy.
Hmm.
And how's Dungeons and Dragons doing?
Good. We just got another shipment of the new what was it, like the monster manual, the new 2025 version of the monster manual. So people have been picking up on that as well. I thought it was gonna be, people didn't really want to move over to the, it's not, what is it, like 5.5, I guess they're calling it, right?
Yeah, I think that's about it.
Right. Um,
24,
so
25, I've seen it listed as.
yeah, so people have been picking up on that. So that's been good. Like I said, I was a little worried that people weren't gonna really want to move over to it. There are a few people. Like I still have some of the older books that some people still pick up. If they need a new version of something. Um, but uh, but yeah, no, the D&D stuff has been good. They haven't really released any new modules or anything. I've been kind of waiting to see, but they haven't really come out with anything.
And so I wonder if they were waiting to finish the because they were doing the player's handbook, the DM's guide, and the monster manual, and maybe now
Yeah,
that they got those like core three done.
And they were
yeah.
doing a lot of stuff online, and I don't know what the status is. I've heard random news here and there that it's a wrench has been thrown into the works and things slowed down in terms of their online plans with Planescape and things like that. But again, I don't know how true these this information is because I haven't really been following it. I've discovered the Marvel superhero multiverse game, and not that I want to run a superhero game, but some of the concepts that I've heard um, tell about sound really fascinating. The way they created different categories of power, that sounds pretty creative and unique. So I think I can really integrate that into the games that I've been running that are kind of like homebrewed from a variety of different sources. So far, it looks like an excellent job that they're doing.
I've heard it's fun. I haven't tried it, but I tried an older version. I can't remember what they called it. But when I went to a convention the last time, I played. It was like a bunch of Spider Verse characters, and the way that the stats worked was really weird. Like every one of your stats was a kind of range on a line graph in different colors. It was I can't remember the full details.
Now,
I just remember it was
Marvel Superheroes game under TSR, which was the company that Dungeons and Dragons was under, and they did the Marvel. It was called Face Rip because those are the. It sounds horrible, but it's actually what the attributes, the first letter of the attributes was, and
okay.
that's the one that had that cardboard thing with the different colors, with the red and the green and the yellow and the white and so on and so forth. Yeah, that was popular for a very long time, and there's lots of material to support it. And actually, you can get a lot of the material free on different websites. So no more role-playing games. So we'll go to board games. Who would like to start? Tim, would you like to start?
I'm trying to think if I've gotten anything. I haven't played anything in quite a while. Work has just been crazy, like I was talking about. And with Route 80 being all messed up, coming and going to me, I haven't really had anybody over. But um, now that 80 is somewhat back to normal, I plan to start having people over again for some board games and some barbecue and some magic and stuff. So I'm trying to think. I picked up some random board games just to have, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But it's been a while since I played something. I'm kind of itching to get back to playing something because I've just kind of been going to work and then coming home and kind of just in a loop. But trying to now that Final Fantasy is over and we're kind of getting into the summer and stuff, it's gonna start going back to normal. So
May it go back to normal soon. I'm glad that Route 80 is cleared up because I know a lot of places in Jersey are suffering weird traffic patterns, and so I'm glad that that's resolved. Zach,
yeah, it's been it's been it's been interesting.
Zach, how about you? Any board games?
Yeah. So first, I don't know if we talked about this after I played it with you, Tim, but I think we played Arcs like what 2 months ago at this point, month and a half.
It's probably been a while.
So I figured that's something that you could talk about too. But so Arcs is I say new, but it came out at this point, I think about 2 years ago, a year and a half. New game from the developers who made the Root series of games. Same lead designer, but a very different type of game. Pretty much the only carryover is the fact that it's not quite a war game, but it has that, like, it borders that, and can be played with very asymmetric character classes and powers. But effectively, you are different factions vying for control of certain domains of space. It is very limited, fills up very fast. When you start the game, you don't realize how quickly people are going to be moving and taking over things. But the whole thing is driven by a trick taking mechanic, which is one of my favorite mechanics in games. And so the way that it works is each suit gives you different options of what to do on your turn. So one of the suits might let you build ships, might let you build a launch site to put those ships out into orbit. One of them may let you buy things, trade things, and whoever leads the trick, whoever wins that suit, highest of that suit over the wild, gets benefits from that suit. But unlike almost every other trick taking game, you do not have to follow suit if you don't want to. It's just that you will only get one of the actions on your card rather than all of them. So there's a lot of interesting choices you have to make on a turn by turn basis. They also have a mechanic where if you want to make sure that you go first next round, that you lead the next trick, even if you don't think you can win, you can burn a second card from your hand, meaning you'll have one less turn that round, but you get the initiative for the next trick. And so it's played over three, I think arcs is the in-game word, 3 arcs of time. And then at the end of it, whoever has the most points from various things win. They have an interesting bit where there's, I want to say, 6 goals per round, and they range from things like be the player who has captured the most hostages, be the player who has defeated the most enemy ships, be the player who has the most fuel at the end of the round, things like that. And none of them have a base value of points. What happens is during your turn, you can say, instead of taking the initiative, trying to win a trick when I'm leading it, I'm basically making my card a 0 so that I can add a point value to one of those goals that I think I'm going to win. The problem is that's public. And now everyone knows Zack just put points on have the most fuel. So he's got cards that'll help him get fuel. And now I need to get fuel so he doesn't win that. But then maybe they get a turn and they can say, I'm also going to add points to the fuel goal, which now makes it worth even more. So now everyone starts doubling down on it. So it has a very cool bit where you choose how you get the points, and the choice of doing that is very impactful because it really signals like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do, and you're locked into it at that point. There's no way you can take it back. You can't pretend like.
So it's like this. It's like winning the stock market. It sounds. It sounds like.
Yeah, because you have to broadcast your intentions like 100%, and it gives people God knows how many tricks to get out from under you. And I think we had one round when we played with Tim where there are 3 point values you can assign to those goals each round. I think all 3 of them ended up on the same goal because I think it was Tim and Scott, or Jamie and Scott, both of them were vying for like most ships destroyed, and they just kept fighting everybody, and so they just put all the points onto that one goal. And I think Scott won it, and then he jumped up a huge number of points, and there was like nobody can catch him now. Like it's like we couldn't even skip the last arc because no one can catch it. Like,
That is awesome. And Tim, what did you think of the game?
And so I was trying to remember what I was going for. I think I was going for like just like most ships or something. I think it was Jamie and Scott that were the ones that were fighting and killing everybody. But yeah, I do remember Scott like just j- jumping out with a huge lead. Um, but yeah, like Zach said, like trick taking games are fun. Like I like and Claudia really likes too. The Great Del Moody, of course, like
Yep.
classic. Um, but it's this one is unique, like how Zach said, that you still get your benefit even if you play offsuit, so you don't get totally washed out where it's like, oh, I'm playing a card and I get nothing in return. At least you can have the possibility of getting something, so it's not just a
Yeah.
fully wasted round of doing nothing.
I discovered a board game. I'm not really playing the board game. I didn't, no one is interested in playing the board game with me. It has a solitaire mode, so I'm experimenting with that. It's the Marvel United um, games. There's like several seasons,
Yeah.
and the latest one was a multiverse season, and they had Tales of Asgard. That might not be part of the multiverse. That might be from something else. But I picked that up, and I picked up some random figures. They had Hercules and Ares, which got me interested.
Nice.
And
Yeah, nice.
it's kind of like part role playing game, part board game. Instead of numbers, you have cards, and the cards serve as your abilities and also your health. So it's very simple to play. And they have themes from the Marvel comics, like the Multiverse Saga, the Avengers Saga, World War Hulk, Civil War, and a bunch of other ones. And now they're also doing DC. There's DC Superheroes United, and I think the first one is coming out very soon. Right now, it's in Kickstarter still, I believe.
That's cool to know that they're doing DC. I have the X-Men box and the Asgard box,
Oh, great!
specifically because Beta Ray Bill is my favorite Marvel character, and he was like a Kickstarter bonus for the Asgard one, so I had to find someone selling it like secondhand.
Yeah, I didn't I bought the Tales of Asgard before I knew that there was like a Kickstarter version, and I thought it had the Beta Ray Bill, and now Beta Ray Bill the figure's going for like $50. So I think I'll wait. Or
Yeah,
I might just buy the kick starter box at some point.
that's I've been on the same decision because I really like Nightcrawler from the X-Men, and he
Uh-huh.
was also a Kickstarter exclusive, so like people are selling it for 80, $90. I'm like, I cannot justify that.
And just by getting him for that much also. And Mighty Thor, I think she comes with the retail edition of the multiverse box. And
Mhm.
they have Loki too. They had Loki as a villain, Loki as a hero. They had Kid Loki and Alligator Loki.
Yep.
So I got all the Lokis at good prices.
I'm looking at people's that painted all the minis and stuff. They look great. So
Yeah,
so
they're nice.
you can you can use them all together, I guess is the point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and with
Okay.
the DC too, you could mix and match. You could have Batman and Wonder Woman versus the Incredible Hulk and Iron Man, whatever you want to do. And each game has a slightly different mechanic. So each game is not the same game played over and over again with different characters and different abilities. It's a totally different game. So even though the basics are the same in game to game in terms of some of the mechanics, there are different mechanics. And then you can mix and match them together. So like with the Sinister Six, you're playing against six different villains. They don't have to be the Sinister Six. You could use the same game to fight against any six villains.
Hmm. Okay.
And then there's a versus mode in one of the boxes. I don't remember which one, but you have a team against another team. I think it's Civil War, and
That would make sense.
it doesn't have to be the same teams fighting against each other. You could choose which teams. You can even create a team if you wanted.
That's one of the things I thought was cool, which I didn't get to try yet. Is so Tim, each box comes with a few villains as well as heroes matching that theme. But you can mix and match. Like I'm gonna have the X-Men fight those villains from the Spider-Man box, whatever. Um,
Hmm.
the villains are usually controlled by a deck, so it's not automated, but it's like AI. Like you flip a card, resolve the effects. You take a turn, flip a card, resolve the effects, so on and so forth. They also have a variant mode where you can actually have a player be the villain. So it's a one versus all game, which sounds really interesting. And I'm hoping to try the next time that I get that to the table.
Yeah, that does sound phenomenally interesting. I don't think I'll get there with that, but I'll probably play the bad guy and the good guy in some variation of and it really, really looks great. I like the team, the champions, not the new ones, but the original ones with Hercules and Black Widow and uh, the Ghost Rider and Angel and Iceman.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the entire run of comics. So I was trying to figure out a way where I can collect the figures and play out scenarios that happened between the published adventures and kind of experience the stories again from a new angle. But the Ghost Rider and Angel or Iceman, actually, Iceman and the Ghost Rider are very expensive, so I can't justify spending the money for them. So I'll just have to keep aware and alert to when an inexpensive one passes,
Yeah.
eBay or Amazon.
And you might want to also look into a game series called Unmatched.
Okay.
It's similar in idea where like each box is a different set of playable characters that each have like a unique decks and mechanics. But the idea is it's just a one-on-one or four-player, like two versus two or all for free for all of these various characters from different IPs. So I think the most recent box they put out is you can play as Shakespeare, Macbeth, I want to say Oberon, and then the Three Witches. But then they have stuff like here's Ghost Rider, Daredevil, Luke Cage, and Moon Knight in one box,
Oh, wow.
or like here's King Arthur, Alice in Wonderland, Sinbad. They have one called Houdini versus the Genie, where one is literally Houdini and the other one is a genie in the lamp. Like, and all of them can be like mixed across. So I have they made some Jurassic Park ones. So I have the ones where it's like the Raptors versus Muldoon, and the Raptors are like you play three Raptors at once, that kind of thing. It's very fun, very fun.
If you could send me the name or the link to that, I'll look into that as well. That sounds fascinating, and I love those type of things that mix genres together. I'm not doing mythology in the games that I'm running. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not doing superheroes in the games that I'm running. I'm doing mythology, but superhero games have a lot of mythical actions that are assigned to superheroes. So I always find it very fruitful to read through them to get inspired and then to homebrew some of the stuff I've come across.
Yeah.
I think the only thing we've left out is live type of stuff, either Renaissance festivals or LARP events. Anything going on with that?
I would
That's
love to go to the Renaissance Fair at some point this year. I think I missed out. Oh, dang it! It's been a while since I went. At least I think Zach, you went what last year or a few months ago, maybe even.
yeah,
Um,
it was what was it? This past September, maybe? September, October. I think it might have been October. It might have been like the last week they do it.
I want to try to get over before. It's either you got to get there before it gets too hot, or you got to wait.
Yeah. And so I was talking with Jamie. It's like it feels like the kind of thing that would really benefit from being held more in the spring or the fall than the summer.
Right. Hmm.
Go away in the summer. Like Tenafly, where I live, is pretty much empty. Everyone's going away.
Yeah.
And how about electronically online? Aside from the things that you do online, which you've spoken about, we've talked about online type of things like uh, fake paranormal investigation type of interactions that people have online, um, and other things like that. Anything unusual going on online that people can participate in?
Can't think of any at the moment, but Tim, how much do you know about the Siren series of games?
I think I have a copy of it for PS2. I've always wanted to play it.
I was just watching a documentary on the first one, and I'm like an hour in on a documentary on the second one. But they incorporated some of that like online ARG element stuff that was really cool, where the game is set in kind of like an abandoned Japanese village. And what they did when they made the game is they went to places like that in Japan and took photos to use as direct references in the game. So like there is a lot of it where you can say, this photo of this actual building in this town looks exactly the same as this building in the game. And so they
Hmm.
played with that by having the developers online in a like they did forums about like urban legends and things like, oh, I heard there were some disappearances over in this area. I'm going to go check it out. And the guy never updates. And they're like, oh my God, now he went missing. And like, um, really interesting
Huh.
history.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Send that over. I had no idea that it was that deep. Like I knew that it was like a creepy game. I played the camera one. What's it? I always want to say
Fatal Frame, Fatal
yeah,
Frame.
Fatal Frame. Yeah, Crimson Butterfly is the sub name for it. But yeah, like I played Fatal Frame and stuff, but I didn't know Siren went that deep.
Yeah, apparently it's. 'Cause I didn't either. I was just like, oh, this could be interesting, and it really was.
Hmm.
Sounds
Yeah,
fascinating.
yeah, man. I love weird ARG kind of stuff. Slender Man and all that stuff from back in the day. It's just cool, interesting, weird vibes, like forgotten video games or haunted video games
Yeah,
or
I'm gonna
whatever.
send you another one by the same person. It was. It's like a haunted house sim game. Like there's a haunted house theme park, but they're all really weird.
Okay.
So one of the enemies in one part is Sonic the Hell Hog instead of Sonic the Hedgehog. It's like a demonic Sonic that like captures you and stuff.
How about we make this the topic of our next show? This sounds fascinating, and both of you seem very enthused by it, and I'm getting enthused listening to you.
Oh yeah, I love old weird video games. There's one that I'll save it for next time, and I'll get a little more information about it. I just watched something, Zach. I'll send it to you too. Um, like it's like an arcade racing game. But it's very 90s, 2000s, like PS1 era. But it's weird that like the crashes are like very violent and stuff, and it's just very like off-putting and unsettling and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really interesting.
Sounds like a plan. I can't wait to learn more about it. How can people contact you guys? And again, we'll start with Zach this time. And anything coming up that people should know about in your world.
So you can always find me on Facebook, or you can send me an email at mrmunnin@gmail.com. And if you search for that username, Mr. Moonin, on Blogger, you should be able to find I have begun uploading all of my tabletop session notes there for posterity, so like anybody can just read them.
Oh, that is incredibly awesome. If you send me the link to that, I'll put that in the description under today's show.
Sure.
And Tim, how can people reach you, enter your world, and do you want me to link to Level 1 Games?
Yeah, yep. The Facebook or the Instagram for us is the best way. So if you just go on Facebook or Instagram and search up Level One Games, um, we'll come right up. So the thing that we're doing this week, like I alluded to before, the Switch 2 came out, the new Nintendo console. Um so we only got a few consoles in stock. We only got 3 of them. So what we're doing is we're doing not a giveaway. It's not a giveaway, but you come, you write your name and your phone number on a little slip, and on Friday at 7 o'clock, we're pulling names from a hat, basically. So if we pull your name, then that means you can come, and we have some Switch bundles that you get to choose from. So if you don't have a Switch yet, you have a chance to come get a Switch. So if you just look on the Facebook and on the Instagram, you'll find all the information for that. But yeah, that's the best way to get in contact with us is on there. Um, So yeah, so that's the big thing coming up is the Switch drawing, as I guess is the word to use because it's not a giveaway. um, but yeah, so we have the Switch drawing coming up, and then we're still doing all of our Magic and Pokemon events on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So yeah, so always busy, always a bunch of stuff going on at the store.
And that's a good thing. That's a healthy thing.
Yep,
Uh,
yep.
I'm not on Facebook or Instagram, so if you send me the links, I'll put up the links, but I haven't been able to link through the links, so other people can perhaps.
Cool. Yep, yep. No problem.
Okay, thank you both. I missed you and I really enjoyed speaking with you today. And I'm already looking forward to our next conversation. And I wish you success in all your endeavors. Stay healthy and be well.
Same
Yep,
to you.
great. Yep, thank you so much. It was great talking. Great, get to see you again, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Hopefully, we will. Take care.
Right,
Have a good
thank you so
night.
much.